Hello, it is Ichima, and we're gonna do something different today. So, I already showed you that I like drawing and doing stuff like that, but I wanted to delve into it a bit more, talk about all the drawings that I've made over the but because I've drawn so much, like I can't show everything. But at the very least, I want to show more focused items of interest. That being like comics and stuff that I've done, because growing up I always wanted to make comics and I always wanted to be like a comic person and make stories, but then, at a young age, I was very discouraged by it. I mentioned that before in like one of the past in like the drawing video, I think, when I was drawing Von Lycon, that I didn't take art too seriously. And that's because like growing up, like my parents are like, I didn't have parents who supported my dream of becoming like a, I felt very discouraged from pursuing it because, when people tell you that, it's worthless and, and you can't make your dreams happen, you kind of get discouraged, and I got discouraged. So I never pursued it seriously. But I still liked making them, I still liked creating them. So I think I will show you some comics that I did. Well, comics, and tell you about like stories that I've done. I'll tell you about two. I'll tell you two of them. And the first story that I will tell you about is about this guy. His name is Colin. I made this a long time ago. That's why I'm telling you about this one, is because it's not one that I'm like actively working on anymore. It's kind of just an abandoned idea. But this is Colin. He's kind of like he's like a very kind of flat guy, the straight man essentially of his duo. And I'll show you like the other person who isn't. But yeah, so he's kind of just like he sees kind of the weird stuff going on in his life, and he kind of just like shrugs it off and is like, oh, okay, I guess this is normal. And, trigger warnings, he's got some marks on his body, but it's because he lives on an island with people who are like monsters, creatures, all of that. They've just been relegated to like the forbidden zone. You can never go there zone. He's been like, left to go there. So he's kind of just left there. He exists there and nowhere else. So yeah. And his ability is that his body can fall apart. So where there are these slashes here on his body is where his body's fallen apart, but it can reattach. So that's kind of his deal. And then there is his counterpart, Marie. And she's like, Colin, can we hang out today? Yeah. She's very cute. She's got little eyeballs and she's got a little tail that has its own life. Her eyes also have like their own life. Like one of them's pretty, is normal, but this one likes Colin. It's very sweet. This story just kind of never like, I made a comic for it, this one, and it doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna be honest with you, it doesn't make any sense. But it was supposed to give like an idea of who these characters were. So it's like, Colin, where were you today? S was so mad. And she's like, what? And then she notices, oh, there you are. Let me guess, you passed out watching Sumu and Leper. Oh, and was watching it worth making S mad? Absolutely. So this is Colin's room. Very cute, very pretty, very pastel. He likes cute things. And then this here is Sumu. This is the character Sumu. I had a drawing of her somewhere, but I don't know where it is. I don't know where anything is in my folders. And then we also have Davy, who's another character. He likes Marie. And yes, he does look like this. He does just like have two lines on his face for eyeballs. And his whole gimmick is that he has like limitless pockets. He's like, what you got there, Davy? Gun. That's Davy. And then here's another character. And this one likes Colin, and it's Edwin. And just little notes like, oh, LMAO this song. I don't know what I was listening to. I like having little notes though on my drawings, you know, to reflect on what I was listening to years ago. And then there's this drawing of Colin and Marie. He's not very strong, having a hard time picking her up. It's very cute though. They're very close. They're good friends. And here's Sumu! This is what she looks like. Or just like a very quick doodle that I did of her like a long time ago. She's got no mouth, but then she can open her mouth and it's very scary. And here's this drawing of Edwin and Colin sitting at the pier. And he's just like, oh, I like Colin so much. And then he's just like, wow, I wonder what I'm gonna get thinking about Marie and presents and all these cute things. I really like these comics. They're very silly. I think they're very fun characters, but I just like making random characters in comics and then just never doing anything with them. That's just how it is. That's my toxic cycle. That's my toxic cycle. I make comics and then I never work on them again. I never touch them again. Another drawing of Marie! I think this is an old sketch of her. Because I don't remember adding these details. And then I made a little comic of it's called Movie Night because the plot was that Marie and Colin were gonna have a movie night. And there's not a lot of like text here, but that's just because I wanted to draw it first and then I'd add the text. So she's like walking and she's like, oh, she notices Edwin and like another person. And she's like, Edwin, and she's like, hi, it's nice to see you. And then she starts rambling and like he's looking around and he notices that Colin isn't there. And then he gets a little sad. And so his friend is just like, hey, where's Colin? Like, where's Colin at? And he's like, no, wait, stop, like, don't ask. And she's like, Colin, think he's at Davies. At least I think so. Why? Do you need him? He's like, no, we were just curious. And then, like, you can see here he's, like, embarrassed. And this guy's laughing. And she's just like, well, if that's all, I'm gonna be going. Me and Colin are gonna have a movie night. And she's just like, guess I'll see you guys later. And this guy's just teasing him. He's like, should have asked her to join. Shut up. Maybe you and Colin could have shut up, you know? Very something silly, something sweet. Something silly and sweet. I had another comic from, here it is. I didn't get too far in this one, but this one's with Colin going to Davy. And he's like, let me see, Marie wanted these snacks. I still don't know how to make heads or tails of this. Then a hand reaches out, grabs it, and he's like, oh, Davy, good timing. You know what Marie likes. Mind helping? And then he nods because he doesn't talk. He's not a talker. He's like, I appreciate it, man. Yeah. It's just a silly comic. And then after that, scrolling, we have the actual comic. So originally, I made this as a long comic. I think I had aspirations to publish it on Webtoons and make a comic out of it, but then I never did. So yeah, I'm not gonna show everything, but this is just to show you that this is where it started. And the reason why is because I actually try to redraw it. So I'll show you that. What does it mean to be normal? Does it mean to be different than those around you? Or does it mean to be exactly the same as those around you? Does normality even mean anything? To be normal, what does that truly entail? Is there truly a difference in our interpretations of normal? And then page 2. And he goes, I'm not too sure, but at the very least, Colin, you're not sleeping on me, right? No, just thinking is all. And then obviously I hadn't finished painting it, so I will do, let's see. You can do this. You can just see this. Why do you ask? Did you finally find the thing you wanted to show me? And then now it's just sketches because I never finished it. It just so happens that I did this. You know, in his thoughts, he's like, oh good, I was getting bored. She fishes in her pockets and then pulls out a finger. Isn't that Mrs. Dane's finger? Oh, now that you mention it, it does look like it. And then here, it's like, I found it by the dock, so I guess it makes sense that it's hers. And then, as you can see, like in the background, there's like the, let me see, there. I think we should return it to her, probably for the best. And then crunch, and then wash. And he's like, "Oh no, Merlin, you can't eat that. Spit it out, you fly trap. Mrs. Dane is gonna kill us." And then at the end, it's like, "This is my definition of normal." Yeah, and that's essentially the entirety of like kind of like the concept of like this story. And I never went any further on it, but it was just something lighthearted and fun. And I can talk about one more, because it's also a story that isn't fully developed, was never fully developed, but something I made just for fun. So let me clean the slate and we'll get to it. Here it is, and this is the main character. His name's Grayson, and this is a world of like, the story essentially was like, it's a colored world, you know, where you have like your pinks and your rainbows and your purples and your reds and your all that. You have all these colors that exist. However, the color black has completely gone missing. It doesn't exist anymore in this world, and the only color that kind of exists and that is left is Grayson. And this is what, you know, fun fact, I actually started this one in school. I think I drew like a page of it, and I might put that up. But yeah, he was the main character. He was the color gray, and he lived out in like the forest, which is essentially just kind of all white. And this is a supporting character, and his name's Peter, and he's pink. And the pinks are kind of known for like, you know, healing and like medicine and all that kind of stuff. So that's his whole thing. Yeah, and then here's some like me like brainstorming for the character, and this is like a new design for Grayson that I had made. He doesn't speak. He doesn't know how to speak. He kind of speaks in kind of like bells and whistles kind of thing, because he communicates with these little frog creatures. But yeah, this is Grayson. New design. Here's Grayson and Peter. And this is the frog that, you know, that I was mentioning, that he communicates with. Kind of confused. He's like, oh, huh? And then here are the other two like colors who would have joined him on this journey. And you have red, who are like forgers, strong characters. That's what he looked like. And then you have purple, which is, you know, obviously like royalty, like the high nobles of the world. She was a purple. And then here's a photo of them all together. Ugh. Yeah. Oh, I guess I renamed them as Percy, Paulina, and Ryden after their colors. And then his name is just Casper, because he couldn't tell Peter his name, or Percy. He couldn't tell Percy his name because he can't speak, so Percy just named him Casper. And, you know, didn't have pants, so he gave him pants. I don't actually remember what the story was supposed to be for this one. I think the general setup for it was just that, like, I think the general setup was just that, like, they were trying to figure out where he came from, where Grayson came from, and, like, why the color black has gone missing. And that's kind of just like their whole quest, where they try to travel to solve this mystery and kind of just figure out what happened to, you know, the color black. Because the color white still exists. It's the kind of boundless forest outside of like kind of where all the colors exist. And yet there's no black. And yeah, that's kind of the story. I think that's really all that I have like 3 more stories, but those ones are kind of like more developed than anything else. They have a lot more thought in them, I suppose, is the more proper term. I can show like comics I've made, just like little silly ones, like this Animal Crossing one that's based off of a something that happened IRL, which is essentially, it's like, man, I haven't played Animal Crossing for a while. I wonder what's going on. Oh ho, how interesting. First day back and I have a camper. I wonder who it is. Please be Roald, because Roald is my favorite Animal Crossing character. And then shuffling noises and it was Anka. I got Anka from a tent randomly. And then the follow-up comic to this is me freaking out, like, oh, me trying to call my friend because my friend really wanted Anka. And I have like the Discord message of that exchange happening, which was really funny. And then I have this comic, which involves this character very briefly. His name is Styx. And it's also a long comic. And essentially goes that like, he's walking, he's confused, you see his tail, and he's like, where am I? This is so weird, I swear I was in my room last I checked. I was going to sleep after all, and if someone was pranking me by leaving me in my room. And then it's supposed to be, this is his roommate who's like, don't harass him. Plus, not to mention, Derek attacking the pranksters. So, what do I do now? And he's like, oh, sad, like he doesn't know what to do. And then the creature's in the woods and he's crying, and then it approaches him and he's like, hello! And he's like scared and confused. He's like, what is that? Very simple little doodle. So yeah, very silly, very small comic. I like making comics, they're fun. I made a lot of self-deprecating comics. I'm not gonna show those. This is also based off of a real life incident, but when I was playing Binding of Isaac, and it's like, oh, the boss is almost dead, just need a bit more, and then it hit me, and then I got teleported, and then it repeated over and over and over again, and I just like ended my life. I'm like, I can't handle this anymore. And then there's this one, this little mini one, which is back when I used to like a D&D campaign by a, you know, not a very good person. We don't talk about him anymore. But when I was really into it before, I got really excited and I started shaking my hands, and then my niece had just woken up, and then she saw me doing it and started mimicking me, and I got embarrassed and I stopped doing it. Also, for the record, we'll just talk about it as a past life instances of how I used to look like. Don't worry about it. Here's kind of an unfinished comic based on a real life incident where I wanted to draw something for a friend's birthday, and they told me, they were going to tell me like, no, don't do it. And then I was like, I'm going to do it anyways. Which is, by a fun fact, it's this drawing. I drew this for them because he likes very experimental, kind of like weird stuff like this. So I try to make it like that. And I think the last comic that I really have that I've made is this one, also based off an incident. A Splatoon incident. Cause you know how like they grab the Rainmaker and then they take it to their spawn? Like, it's so dumb why they do that, because like if you underestimate your enemies and then they just charge into your spawn, you just gave them like a free win. Anyways, with that being said, that's about everything. I'll leave you off on a drawing of like, you know what? I'll leave you on some fan art that I did. Where is it? Some fan art I made. There you go. I'll leave you on this Pomni fan art. I made this the day before Digital Circus first premiered, which, by the way, I love Gooseworks. Little Runmo is like one of my favorite like online animations ever. It's really, really good. And I love Gooseworks and I love all their stuff. But yeah, with that being said, fellow heroes, thanks for listening if you decided to listen. I have a lot more stories I could talk about and a lot more in depth that I can go about them. I have 3 stories actually that I can go much more into depth about. One of them is about, it's kind of like a war story where it's like a guy is out for vengeance after his like home is bombed by like these like terrorists who are trying to like conquer the world, and he unlocks this power after seeing his home destroyed with his fiance in it that turns him into like a giant monster. And so he kind of goes on a mission with like a party to destroy these like terrorists, and you know, just for revenge. It's a revenge story, honestly. It's pretty depressing and dark. It ends pretty darkly too, I'm gonna be honest with you. And then another one is also depressing and ends really depressing. It's about like this group of like magical girls and boys, like superheroes, who they just fight monsters. It's kind of, it initially starts off as like a Saturday morning kind of deal where it's like very silly and like, you know, lighthearted, and like they fight enemies and they get together and they bond, but then like something happens and then it kind of just shifts the narrative and it kind of ends really sadly. And then the last one is one that I've actually been like, it's been in my noggin for like since I was 13. So fun fact, I'm not young, I'm an adult. So you can imagine how long that is. And yeah, I've been working on it for a very long time and developing it and adding to it. And it's a story of like reincarnation and kind of like growing and learning from the past, essentially. And I could show you like let me see if I can find it. And like maybe I can find it, maybe I can't. I can show you like the main guy in the story. He's kind of the main character, but he's also kind of not the main character, because the main character is a guy named Isaac, and he's kind of like the love interest. But I think the reason why I'm like he's kind of the main character is because I've put so much like work and story into this guy that like in my heart he's the main character, even though like I know traditionally he is not. And here he is Raven. This is my boy, my comfort character, my everything. This is my man. This is my boy, my son. This is him, and he's kind of like the main male love interest, and also like, you know, the comfort character, the one I've like been developing for so long. Like oh my gosh, I have so many things I could say about this character, this one character in specific, but I will save that for another day, maybe. I don't know if I have the courage enough to talk about those other stories. Because it's easier to talk about the stories that like I've never put too much effort into, but talking about the ones that I put a lot of effort into, it's like, it's nervous. I get nervous. Okay. Anyways, with that being said, have a lovely day, night, or evening, fellow heroes. Take care of yourselves. It's still hot in my region. I don't know how it is in your regions. I hope it's not very hot. I hope you're staying warm and staying cool, staying hydrated. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye. I see you later. Goodbye. Bye. Bye bye. Adios. Take care of yourselves, please. You all matter. You're all important.